Salweta, excuse me, Salweta, and thank you for being here on this Asynchronous Friday for this lesson in which we are going to learn about, well, a new case. I don't want to let you guys know too much in advance, but by the end of this lecture, actually in about 3 minutes, you're going to know everything you need to about the vocative case and its use. Yes, the new case that we are learning is the vocative. I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to pause my video and take a look at page 38 in the textbook, which is Language Fact 4, page 38 in the textbook, Language Fact 4, you're going to see a very brief description there. As always, I hope that my lesson is going to help you to a fuller understanding, and that's why I'm recording this. As I said, we're going to start with the use of the vocative first, with forms second. We're going to, as we work, practice the forms of the vocative for first and second declension nouns. As needed, you guys can build in practice opportunities with all the cases, nominative, all the way through ablative, which are the ones we know already. And then we'll be tacking the vocative case onto the bottom of that list. We're going to use the new case in a written exercise. Your behaviors, I really want to encourage you to read these and follow them. Of course, it's asynchronous. You can do what you want, but you're going to learn best if you pause the video when needed, when you practice aloud as directed, when you practice in writing as part of note taking. So yes, you should be taking notes when we advance to the next slide. And you should add key spoken information that you hear from me add that into your written practice in your notes. Okay? And you can repeat the practice aloud opportunities as often as you wish by pausing the video at key points. All right, so here's the time where you should start taking notes and being awesome possums. All right. You guys will remember the mnemonic device, never give dogs any abuse. And those are the initials that start the names of the 5 noun cases which we have officially studied. I have said at a couple points that you might consider adding on Vicky. That is the name of one of my relatives, and it starts with a V, and the V is very intentional. So, there really are 6 Latin cases: nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative, and at the very bottom of the list, vocative. Like the nominative and the accusative, there won't be any special extra words needed as part of the translation process. The cases are used for the reasons that we've reviewed recently for nominative through ablative. But now we need to add in the use of the vocative case. Okay, so this number 6, it's representing the fact that this is the 6th noun case use we're learning, and also that it's the use for the 6th case. The vocative case is used when you're calling someone by name or title. When you're calling somebody by name or title. Now, I hope you've added this slide to your notes. If not, pause the video and do it. But now I'm going to click forward, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about why the vocative case exists. No, it's not to annoy you. I know, some of you must think that noun cases were designed to annoy you. But no, the vocative case exists while its name its name is a sign. Nomen est omen. Its name is a sign of why it exists. Vocare means to call. And the vocative, or if I say it as a purely English word, vocative case is the case you use to call someone by name, by title, or by some other label. So this is the case you use to call someone by name, title, or other label. And when you're doing that, that's called direct address. Direct address. In this sentence, the speaker is directly addressing a mother. Hi, Mom. Can I help you with that? The speaker is calling their mom by title, Mom. Can you help me, Mr. Griffin? The speaker is directly addressing Mr. Griffin, calling him by name and title, or title and name, Mr. Griffin. Now, not every name, title, or other label is respectful, but it is respectful when I say, never give dogs any abuse, Vicky. I'm respecting my relative. And oh my gosh, look, in that sentence, I am directly addressing Vicky, calling her by name to say, hey, what I've just said, I'm directing it towards you. I want you to hear that I'm speaking to you on this one. Never give dogs any abuse, Vicky. As I said, not every name, title, or label is respectful. You should go away, pest. I don't know if you have a sibling or a neighbor that you might say such a thing to. Please don't. Be polite. Have a nice day, kiddo. Perhaps a parent says that to you when, saying goodbye to run to the grocery store or whatever, or going off to work. If I don't know if your parents are in work outside of the house situations, but certainly there will come a normal day where maybe dropping you off at school again, the parent says, "Have a nice day, kiddo." There are ways to really be polite and respectful to say things like "my good fellow" or "my good man" or even "sir." Um, and woohoo, all of those orange highlighted tidbits are instances of direct address, calling somebody by name, title, or other label. Okay. A key thing to note in the nota bene up here is that in English, we regularly use commas, one or a pair of commas, to set off direct address from the rest of the sentence. In the examples I've given you, often the direct address comes at the end of the sentence. Mom, Mr. Griffin, Vicky. Sometimes it comes in front. So, for example, if I were to say, Billy, put your camera on, please. And by naming Billy, I would be in the very front of the sentence directly addressing somebody. But the vocative case in English or direct address can occur in many places. Sometimes it's kind of embedded in the sentence, like, you, my good fellow, you are so very helpful. Okay. All right. Let's move on. I apologize for all these extra clicks. I'm not sure what's going on with them, but I've clicked through them. Remember that you find folks can pause the video at any time. What I would like to move on to and do now is have you find folks see the vocative case in a chart of first declension noun forms. We are really, really used to the sequence that is the nominative through ablative on first declension nouns. Lupa, lupai, lupai, lupam, lupa, and I'm skipping the vocative for now. In the plural, feel free to say these with me to get the practice. Lupai, luparum, lupis, lupas, lupis. When we add the vocative case forms in at the bottom of that chart, never give dogs any abuse, Vicky, we now have a process where there are 6 forms. The really nice thing to notice about the first declension, and it is kind of reassuring, is that for all first declension nouns, the vocative form is the same as the nominative form. So in the singular column, vocative lupa is 100% identical to nominative lupa. For plural lupi, the vocative plural is the same as the nominative plural. Because it is the same, our textbook hasn't printed the vocative in a chart yet. It hasn't printed the vocative in the chart because there's a simple rule. The vocative is the same as the nominative, and once you know lupa nominative and lupi nominative plural, you know lupa vocative singular and lupi vocative plural. It's as easy as that for the first declension. Wahahaha. Now, I'm going to try to erase all the ink on the slide. Yep, I am. And I'm going to go back and remove the forms from this portion of the recording. Okay? Watch them disappear. Can you repeat the forms out loud? Can you repeat the forms in writing and add in the vocative case? If you want to, you can rewind to the point where you saw no forms in the chart, no lupa, no lupi, etc., and practice them in writing. And by the way, you guys would be really, really wise, you'd be wise guys, to now start dedicating a place in your notes for the forms of all declensions, kind of a one-page reference in your notes that you can bookmark with, a tab or a post-it note and always go back to when you're wondering, oh my gosh, what is the accusative plural of the first declension again? What's that ending? Instead of flipping to 17 different pages in the book, you can flip to one page in your notes. Okay. If I create such a tool for you and post it in Google Classroom, I'm doing the work and I'm doing the learning. If you take the time to start creating that single page in your notes, by your doing the work, you are doing the learning. All right, now we need to move on to a typical second declension masculine noun that ends in US. To be a straight up US noun, I call them straight up US nouns, like amicus or animus or lupus, a masculine wolf, or equus, horse, or servus, meaning slave. Now, I'm hoping that you'll recall that we practiced with those nouns in the textbook and in class and in last week's recorded lecture. Those are all straight up US second declension nouns. What we're going to learn, though, in the straight up US second declension nouns is that the vocative is different. It's special. The vocative singular form is a special and different ending. It's the ending short E. No, I'm not talking to you, seventh graders. I'm not calling you shorty. Sorry, that's rude. But the letter E, and it's a short E, no macron, is the special, distinctive, vocative singular ending. Our textbook hasn't put that in a chart for you so far. So this chart that you should write down right now while I'm talking is really important. And I would put it on the same page where you just had the forms of lupa, the she-wolf. But for this masculine wolf, the vocative singular ends in short E, lupa. It is different than any other ending you can see up here. There's a note here, though. The plural form, when we get to the vocative plural form, that's going to be the same as the nominative. You remember the nominative plural? Maybe test yourself on those forms with me. The forms that we see up here: lupi, luporum, lupis, lupos, lupis. And then the vocative plural starts to follow that rule that we observed with the first declension, that it would be the same as the nominative. In fact, it's only ever, ever the vocative singular form that is going to be distinctive, just the singular form. All right, a quick reminder, you could take this valuable time to practice the forms of the straight up second declension masculine nouns like lupus or amicus, animus, rivus, and so on. Okay. Once again, though, please make sure on that single page for all noun forms in your notes, you end up getting all of these written down. Okay. Now, second declension nouns can be something of a pain in the rear end. We've already talked about how there are some that end in R, in ER or IR, beyond the ones that end in straight up US. But, and it's a big but. There are some forms that end in IUS. Some nouns end in IUS. And the best example I can throw at you, and I'm going to do it super quickly, is the noun filius, meaning son. However, I would also like to point out that many of you as Latin students chose names that end in IUS. Julius, Octavius, Galerius, Sulpicius, and others. If your name ends in IUS, your name is going to follow the pattern of filius, which is pretty straightforward until we get to the vocative. So our rule has been, if it's a noun that ends in the second declension in genitive and long I, we take the long I from it, and then everything else that's left, like fili right here, is the stem. So filius, that's what we've got. Filii, and then filio, filium, and filio. But there is one exceptional place in the vocative where something funky and kind of chunky happens. Actually, it's the opposite of funky and chunky. It's smooth. Now, take a look at what I've written here in this bright yellow. The vocative singular form is extra special. It's not just special, it's extra special. The vocative singular form, well, the best way I can describe it is right here. I want you to think about it as a mashup of feel it a. Now think about it. On the last slide, we learned that the second declension US ending is short E a. If we add it to the stem for philios, which is phili, if we add those together, philia, we get something that the Romans found really, really hard to say. Philia, philia, philia. Can you feel it? How awkward it is if you say it? Feel it? How awkward it is to pause between the I sound and the E sound? It's awkward. It's funky and chunky to say feel it. So the Romans didn't say that. They smoothed it out by blending the I and the together. And that blended sound is what we see up here on the end of feely. When I call on people whose names end in IUS in class from now onward, if your name, for example, were Sulpicius, when I call on you by name, I'll say, Sulpici, please answer this question. If your Latin name is Julius, I will say, Juli, please answer this question. Okay, so that may sound a little bit different for some of you who thought your name was full-on Julius or Sulpicius. It is, but not in the vocative. Now, I'm going to try to speed things along. I'm going to reassure you that the vocative plural form is going to use the normal rule. Okay? The vocative plural form is not extra special. It's normal. Filii, vocative plural, is the same as filii, the nominative plural. All right, we're almost there. But now we need to deal with those pesky nouns that end in "r." They are puer, wir, and ager in our textbook. Puer, wir, and ager are the examples in our textbook. But I want you to recall that in class on Thursday, we made use of a couple new ER second declension nouns. We practiced with faber, fabri, the word that means builder or engineer. Builder or engineer. I want to pause for a second before we go over all the forms and remind you that some of these nouns have a stem change. Ager, agri has a stem change. Faber, fabri has a stem change. Magister, magistri, meaning teacher, has a stem change. Now, puer and wir don't. And you can tell because if you look at the combination of the nominative and the genitive, puer, pueri, both of these forms keep the E in front of the R. And on wir, wiri, the stem doesn't change. The I does not drop out in front of the R. But on faber fabri, the E drops out in all the forms from the genitive through the ablative. But, the vocative, oh, it goes back to being faber. Hey, wait a second, that's reassuring. This is following the normal rule. This is following that great and normal rule. And it works for both singular and plural here. The vocative is the same as the nominative when it comes to these ER nouns like faber and puer, and the IR noun, weir. So the great thing is, for these nouns, even though you may have to worry about a stem change in the other forms, like we see over here, the old rule about the vocative being the same as the nominative comes into play. All right, I know this is a lot to take in, and I'm running maybe a little bit long in the lecture, but we're going to make it work by finishing up with 4 practice opportunities. Not practicing the endings. Oh, by the way, I should have said you can put these endings in your notes too as a sample declension pattern for the ER nouns. In the interest of time, you can rewind it to the place where there are none of these forms in the chart and then practice them out loud or practice them in writing, and then check your work to make sure you have it accurately. But I need to go forward. I'm trying to go forward and it's not working. Come on. You need to go forward. And I want us to have 4 practice opportunities. Now, something kind of weird happened on the setup of this slide. There was supposed to be a click before you see the word amica. Not sure what happened. Oh, it's going to do it on the next one too. All right, so these may not be the greatest practice opportunities in the world. For the moment, though, ignore the word amica. Okay? If I wanted to say, I live in the fields, friend, I could use the vocative case for the word friend, because I'm directly addressing somebody. Friend, I live in the fields. Set off by a comma from the rest of the sentence. In Latin, words in the vocative case often get smushed into the middle of the sentence. But to say friend in the vocative, and notice it's singular, I would use the ending "a," amica. Amica. All right, let's try the next sentence. I want you to imagine, and I'm going to wait to show it to you, that we are saying the magic word sun. Sun in the vocative case. In this sentence, son, we must walk now. Son, we must walk now. Do you remember the Latin word for son? It's filius, filii. And yes, it is one of those pesky IUS nouns. Son, we must walk now. That is direct address. I'm calling on the son by title rather than name. So I need to use the vocative case for the word son. Can you figure out what it is? Yeah, it's that smoothly contracted form fili. Okay. In the next sentence, I want you to imagine that someone you know is coming up and speaking to a group of girls, and asking politely, how are you doing? Okay. So, hey girls, how are you doing? Okay. And I'm not talking about, some player going to play using that smooth voice. Hey girls, how you doing? Don't go there, especially you. I know you're thinking about doing that. No, don't. So, hey girls, how are you doing? What's the word for girls? Oh yeah, it's puella puellai, first declension. So can you form the vocative that we need to say, hey girls, how are you doing? Yeah, it would be puellai. How's puellai? Komodo waletis. All right, on this last one is going to be just a big honking problem, I can tell you, because I am quoting a musical lyric that goes back to when I was in junior high school from the Pink Floyd album The Wall. One of the lyrics in one of the songs, or a couple of the songs, is actually, hey, teachers, leave those kids alone. Okay. Now, I apologize. I have messed up all around. Hey, teachers. Hey, teachers, plural. Leave those kids alone. Can you make it work? Remember the Latin word for teacher, magister, magistri, masculine? It's second declension. It's one of those ER nouns. But let's say that we're working with the word teachers. The correct form would be, in the vocative for teachers, would be magistri, the same as the nominative plural. All right. Now, there's an entire possibility, as I'm recording this super late at night, that I messed up in two different ways. Let's find out. Yep, I had the right answer. Hey, teachers, leave those kids alone. All right, that's what the vocative case is all about. And please, by the way, teachers are awesome. At least I try to be. I hope you have always had awesome ones. And I hope that, hey, girls, you will leave the teachers alone. Or, hey, boys, leave those teachers alone. We could turn this around and make it not, how do I want to say this, judgmental towards teachers or anyone for that matter. So that's the end of the recording. I hope you've taken excellent notes. If you need to, you can copy down these example sentences which use the vocative case endings, both for a nice US noun like amigos, an IUS noun like filius, and then some good plural nouns like puellai here and magistri. All right, that's truly it. Go have an awesome time with your written asynchronous assignment and reach out to me in office hours if you have questions. Ciao, ciao, people.